Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second slot of the pre-competition webinar to get you completely ready for the competition phase. So we're still seeing that some participants are tuning in with us right now. So we will just wait, per usual, maybe 2 minutes before we go into the agenda of today, just to leave some participants to join us still. Okay, I'm seeing that the number of participants is slowly building up, so maybe let's move already to today's agenda. So today, as always, we will start with a presentation, and in particular, the presentation of what the AI Weather Quest is in a nutshell. This is something we have already done in past webinars, but you might not have been present, so we will go over that quickly before moving on to the registrations overview and the testing period participation. We will then go into the heart of what we want to talk to you about today, which is the first competition period. So Joshua, he will present you with the timeline of the first competition period. He will also present you how we will evaluate your submissions, how your results will be displayed on the website. And finally, we will talk about the various competition outputs and how some of this will be transparent and made public on the website. And then, as always, we will try to keep about 20-30 minutes of time for a dedicated question and answers, where you can use the chat or you can directly unmute yourself and ask your question out loud. Before moving on, I have to remind you that, as always, this session is being recorded, so the recording will be made available online after the webinar. If you do not wish to appear on the recording, please make sure to turn off your camera. Please also make sure to mute your microphones during the presentation, but of course, not during the Q&A. During the Q&A, you are more than welcome to unmute yourself, ask your questions out loud or directly in the chat. So let's start with the AI Weather Quest in a nutshell. As most of you must know by now, the AI Weather Quest is a global competition. It's organized by ECMWF and endorsed by WMO, and it's a competition for the best performing AI ML models for subseasonal weather predictions. Participants are tasked with producing global weekly forecasts of up to 3 different variables: near surface temperature, precipitation, and mean sea level pressure. They can submit this forecast for up to 2 different lead times, week 3, so days 19 to 25, and week 4, days 26 to 32. The forecast must be provided through quintile probabilities at a 1.5 degree resolution. The AI Weather Quest, it's subdivided into 2 main phases. The first phase is the initial training phase, in which we are right now until the 14th of August. And this phase is especially designed to help you develop and refine your models and be fully ready for the competition phase that will then start on the 14th of August and will last for at least a year, and during which your submissions will be continuously evaluated and the outputs and the results will be displayed on the website. So currently, as I was saying, we are in the initial training phase, more precisely within the testing June, July, August period of the initial training phase. During this period, you can submit your forecast just as though we are in the competition, but we stay in a non-competitive environment, meaning that the forecasts, they are not evaluated and we're not benchmarking them against each other. There are no results displayed on the website. The goal is just for you to be able to submit your forecast, be told through the forum, the dedicated AI Weather Quest forum, that your submission successfully went through, and thus be aware that you are fully geared for the competition phase and be reassured that you are ready. Another very important date is the 1st of August. That's the registration deadline to compete into the September, October, November period, which is the first period of this forecasting year. And thus, by competing to this period, you can be eligible for the full annual year awards. One very important comment as well is that you can see a QR code on the slide. This is the QR code to the website where you can access detailed submission guidelines. You can explore the area web request Python package with the dedicated read the docs documentation, and you can watch the step-by-step usage guide recording on how to use the different functions that are present in the Python package. So this step-by-step usage guide recording is on the resources page of the area web request website. So if you have not yet participated into the webinar where we presented this step-by-step usage guide, we really encourage you to have a look, because it's really useful to understand what the Python package is about and how the different functions can be used. Moving on to the next slide. Yes, so the registration and testing period participation overview. First, the registrations numbers, which are very positive. So currently we are at more than 300 different participants that are registered. They are part of more than 100 teams, and they're registered with over 140 models. So of course, we are very enthusiastic when looking at these numbers. If we go into the actual participation to the testing period, we can see that about 16 teams participated with 20 different models. In average, you can see that about 4 different teams are participating into the testing period every week, and they are really tackling all the different variables and both you can see more precisely that they're actually targeting slightly more the first forecast window, which is week 3, and that they're also very eager to tackle the temperature variable. There's still 3 weeks to submit. So now our main message is really submit this forecast. You can use dummy data. You can use any type of data. It will not be evaluated. The goal is simply for you to know that your system is working, that you understood how to form the Python package, for us to know that all went well. And the way that we do so is by every week, every Monday, actually on the dedicated forum that you can access through the QR code on this slide, we will announce the team names and the model names of the teams and models that have successfully submitted forecast. And we will, of course, detail for which variable and for which forecast window this forecast were submitted. So the goal is not for us to evaluate your forecast. As we said during the testing period, it's a non-competitive environment. It's just for you to be able to test the system and for us to tell you through the forum, okay, this team name, this model name, we successfully received your forecast and you are fully ready to participate into the competition phase. Talking about the competition phase, this is really the main piece of today, and I will let Joshua deep dive you into this.
Thanks, Olga. So for those who have not heard from me before, I'm Joshua Talib. I am the technical lead of the AI Web Request. I'm also a researcher in subseason predictability here at ECMWF, and it's great to see all of your contributions to the testing phase of the AI Web Request. As Olga says, in 3 weeks' time, we start the competitive phase of the AI Web Request. And on the screen here, we're showing you the timetable for the first competitive period. So essentially, as we've discussed in other other webinars, the forecast workflow has a structure where the first 4 days of the forecast period is where we open the forecast submission window. So from the Thursday to the following Sunday, and then we ask for forecasts, like Olga said, at a week 3 and a week 4 lead time. So for instance, in the first week of the competitive period, the forecast window is open between the 14th, so Thursday the 14th, to Sunday the 17th of August. And then we ask for forecasts to be valid between the 3rd week of the forecast workflow, so for the 1st week of September, and for the 2nd week of September at a 4-week lead time. Once we've surpassed the 2 forecast windows, on the following Friday, so at day 37, we will publish the ranked probability skill scores associated with the submitted forecasts at both week 3 and week 4 lead time. So to produce these ranked probability skill scores, which I'll go into a bit more detail in the next slide, we use ERA 5T for all 3 of the forecast variables that Olga presented in 2 slides ago. And you'll see over the next 10-15 minutes how we plan to present those scores and how you can compare yourself to other teams. So as I said, every Friday, we're planning to publish the ranked probability skill scores associated with submitted forecasts. And essentially what the ranked probability skill score is it compares how skillful your forecast is compared to climatology. So what we do is we work out what the ranked probability score is with your submitted forecast, and we compare that ranked probability score with a forecast as if we gave all the quintile probabilities a 20% probability. So for each week, we work out what the weekly ranked probability skill score is, where we look at the observations within a certain week and we compare that with your submitted forecast. However, in addition to this, we also work out what we call the period aggregated ranked probability skill score. So rather than averaging individual weeks, what we do is we collate all of the forecasts that have taken place so far within a competitive period, and we compute the ranked probability skill score when we combine all of the forecasts across all the forecast initializations within a certain competitive period. So on the screen here, you can see the equation where we essentially sum the ranked probability scores from your submitted forecasts, and we compare that with what the ranked probability scores is if we took a climatological forecast. Now, obviously, when we work out this period aggregated ranked probability skill score, we're combining forecasts that have taken place throughout the entire 13-week period. So what this means is for you to have a valid period aggregated ranked probability skill score, we need to make sure that we receive a forecast for every week within the full 13-week competitive period. So this means, for example, in the SON period, if you accidentally miss week 4 of the SON competition period, we won't be able to work out your period aggregated ranked probability skill score from week 4 and beyond, because essentially you've missed out the 4th week of the competitive period, and therefore we can no longer work out the period aggregated ranked probability skill score and compare you with other teams that are also taking place. At the end of the SON competition period, so once we've had the end of the 4th week and we've had the end of our first 13-week period, so on the 12th of December, the following week we plan to host a awards webinar. So this will take place on the 18th of December at 1 UTC, and essentially in this webinar we plan to highlight those that have the best scoring period aggregated ranked probability skill scores. To begin with, we're going to focus on the variable averaged period aggregated ranked probability skill scores, where what we do is we average the ranked probability skill scores of all 3 variables together. So for instance, you may have a model that's called test 1, and you may have a period aggregated score associated with each variable. All we do is we average those 3 scores to compute a variable average score. In addition, we'll obviously look at the ranked probability skill scores associated with single variables, but we'll also plan to highlight those teams from the Global South, for instance, or from universities, so those with limited resources, and we will also recognise these teams in these webinars that will take place at the end of each quarter. So as I said, we plan to host and display the ranked probability skill scores online, and the way that we do this is through the AI Weather Quest. So essentially online we will show leaderboards, and you can access these leaderboards from mid-September when we have the first set of evaluation scores, where essentially we'll have a filtering component of the web page where you can essentially choose the competitive period of focus, choose the forecast initialization week that you would like to focus on, as well as the forecast window and your chosen variable. And then on the screen here, you'll see a leaderboard where essentially you can compare how you rank compared to other teams that have submitted, as well as evolution graphs, which will show both the team rankings as well as the scores. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly go onto my web browser. At the moment, this is completely private, so you won't be able to see this on the AI WeatherQuest website currently. I should also highlight that all of the scores that you see are based on test data. So we aren't showing any realistic scores from the testing data that we've received. So what I've done here is I've gone on the web page and I've put in my selection of the competitive period and competition week. So for instance, if we were going through a competition period right now, we would have surpassed the 5th week of the JGA 2025 phase. So I can select my 5th week in the filtering. I'm focusing on the first forecast window and I'm focusing on near surface temperatures. When you click this button here, apply filters, it will take you down to the web page below. Where ultimately what you can see here is a leaderboard, as I showed on the PowerPoint, as well as charts that show the evolution of the team rankings, as well as the ranked probability skill scores. So ultimately what we do here is for the weekly ranked probability skill scores, we compute a single score for each model, and then we work out where that model rank sits compared to all the models that have been submitted for that variable and lead time. We then determine the team rank based on the best model rank that we receive. So for example, here I have team name that's called test 2. They submitted 3 models that provide near surface temperature forecasts. And we can see that their model name called test FC essentially has the top high score. And this corresponds to a model rank, the first model rank. So as a result, they're given a team rank that's equal to 1. If you have a look further down, we have a team name called test 6. This essentially, they have also submitted 3 models. However, it's their model called FC Test 12 that has the highest ranked probability skill score compared to their 3 models. And as a result, that has a model rank that's 3, that's third, and therefore we assign them with a team rank that's also third. So you can see that essentially your team rank is determined by your best performing model. When you scroll down, so when these become live in mid-September, you'll be able to see this nice evolution graph, where essentially what we show here is how your team rank has varied throughout the competition period, and you can see whether you're improving over time relative to other teams. So for instance here, what you can do is you can select a certain team. So if you hover your cursor over a certain team, your team will essentially lighten up. And here you can see, for example, that for the team that I've called Test 2, they're currently ranked first at week 5 of the competition. But you can see that in the previous times, they've been at a lower rank. So it's a really nice tool that we hope you'll be able to use, and hopefully as the competition period progresses, so for example as we enter October and November, we'll be able to see how the teams are progressing and whether it's close or whether actually there are some leading models that are really pioneering skillful forecasts. In addition to that, obviously, it may be the case that the top 3 teams are actually quite close in ranked probability skill scores. So in addition to showing the individual team ranks, we're also showing the weekly ranked probability skill scores. So here, for example, you can select your chosen model and chosen team. And in the same way as your team rank score, you can essentially see how the scores have evolved on a weekly timescale. And you can therefore see whether the top 3 teams, for example, whether they've had close scores and whether those close scores have persisted throughout the full competitive period. Just to highlight what's a nice tool here is that you can also change the competition week of focus. So, for example, if I wanted to go back to the 3rd week, I can then apply the filter, and here I'm looking at the weekly leaderboard that's for the 3rd week of the competition period. And then, however, when you go back to the graph itself, instead of having that 5th week now highlighted, I have the 3rd week that's highlighted. And we can see here, for instance, that in the 3rd week, my team name that's called Test 2 was actually 3rd. in the 3rd week of the competition, but we can see that out into the future. So when we have the 5th week, I have this team has a ranking of 1, and the same is true for the individual weekly ranked probability skill scores. Now, another nice tool that we've developed that's linked to these leaderboards is essentially if you click on a team name. So for instance, here, if you were to click on test 1, then it would essentially take you to a Teams page. So on this Teams page, you'll be able to see information about the members that are contributing to the team, if they have stated that they're happy for their information to be shared, as well as information about the models that they're submitting to the quest. So for instance, here I just have a team name that's called ECMWF test. I've put in my first name and last name. I've put my organization location as Italy. Unfortunately, I'm not based in Italy, I'm based in the UK. But underneath, you can also see information about the individual models. So these are just different test models that I've had operating during the training period itself. And then underneath the individual models, you can also see which weeks I've participated in the AI Weather Quest. So what you can do here is you can essentially change the competitive period of interest, and you can see for which variables have I successfully submitted forecast into the AI Weather Quest. It should be noted that this table will only show submitted forecasts once the evaluation period has surpassed. So, for example, when we start the competition, you will not be able to see who has submitted forecasts using this table until at least mid-September, when we've surpassed the evaluation period of the AI Weather Quest. Another nice tool that we've developed, which will go live pretty much as soon as the first forecast submission window has closed. Essentially, when you click on the individual ranked probability skill score, it will actually take you to a forecast visualization. So essentially, once the forecast submission window has closed, what I do is I extract all of the submitted forecasts and I push these forecasts onto this forecast visualization portal. So essentially what we do is here we will show all of the individual forecasts that are submitted to the AI Weather Quest, and you will be able to see all of these forecasts when they become live on the 18th of August. So what you can do on this nice tool is you can select whether you want to look at a certain model associated with a certain team. So here at the moment, you can see all of the team and model names that have submitted to the AI Weather Quest so far. You can look at certain parameters. So here I'm just focusing on surface temperature, and as well as filtering based on certain teams that have submitted. For those that are not used to this sort of ECMWF forecast portal, what you can do is you can click on a certain product. So here I'm just focusing on surface temperature forecasts from a team name called ECMWF and a model name called Dynamical EC. And essentially what you can do is you compare you can essentially have a look at the forecast at a certain initialization time. So here you can see all of the weeks throughout the training period itself. You can have a look at the certain valid time. So here we're looking at week 3 and week 4. You can change the area of focus. So for example, a lot of my work focuses on African subseasonal predictability. So I will regularly have a look at the forecasts across Africa. And you can also have a look at the variations in quintiles. So for example, here I'm looking at colder than normal regions. However, for example, I could choose warmer than normal regions. And for example, over the Sahel at the moment, we can see that there's low probabilities being forecast by the dynamical systems across the Sahel. I should also say that we're also currently developing a nice detailed guide of this portal, which will make accessible to all participants once the first forecast submission window has closed. Just another quick nice tool, which I think is really nice, is that if you select a certain selection of models, you can essentially compare all of the forecasts at the same time. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm selecting certain models that have come from ECMWF, so the AIFS, as well as tests from myself. I then click on this button here that essentially combines those products onto a chart set. At the bottom here, you'll see that you've selected 3 products to be included in the chart set. and then you can open the chart set itself. So what we can do here is we can select a certain region, a certain quintile, as well as a certain valid time. And what's nice here is that we can visually compare all of the different forecasts provided by different AI ML models at the same time. So here I'm looking at global surface temperature predictions at the highest quintile, so warmer than normal. And we can see, for example, here I've got a base time of the 19th of June, valid for the 7th to the 13th of June. And we can see that the AI model that's coming from ECMWF, as well as the dynamical models, are predicting, temperatures in the top quintile for the 3 forecasts. So we're hoping that once the competitive period is well underway, you'll be able to click on those scores on the leaderboards. You'll be able to look at the certain forecasts associated with them, and then you can also do a visual comparison with your forecasts with the top leading models, and therefore you could potentially see in what regions are different models gaining a better having better accuracy and therefore leading to a better skill score. So with that, I'll go back to the PowerPoint. So we have this nice filtering tool. As well, we plan to share all of the forecast data that's provided for the AI Weather Quest. This is to ensure that other research groups, as well as forecasting centres, can do their own analysis of the forecast data. However, we also want to keep it competitive during the competition period itself. So essentially what we're doing is at the end of each competitive period, so at the end of each 13 weeks, and once we've had the webinar that celebrates the best performing top models, I will push all of the forecast data that I've received to ECMWF's Open Data Store. This Open Data Store is the same storage facility that's used for sharing open data from ECMWF, and I think that several teams are used to handling this data for initializing their sub-seasonal products. At the end of the full forecast, at the end of the full year of the AI Weather Quest, we also plan to push the forecast data that we've received through the AI Weather Quest through ECMWF's cross data store. This platform is regularly used to host public data sets that are developed by ECMWF's research department, and we hope that the data will remain accessible for future analysis in years to come. I should say that the forecast data will be released under a CC by 4 license, and this means that both commercial and non-commercial organizations can analyze this data. We just ask that, if you are to publish information using AI Weather Quest data, that you provide the correct reference, but also if you find that there's certain models that have good predictability in your region of interest, that you also credit those who have submitted those forecasts to the AI Weather Quest itself. And how can you find out more about the individual models that are submitting to the quest? So what we plan to do here is we will have model summaries. So these model summaries will open within the last 4 weeks of each competitive phase. Myself and Olga will drop you an email when they open, but essentially through the AI Weather Quest website, we've developed a questionnaire of around about 10 questions. These questions will go live in the last 4 weeks of the competition period, and we're encouraging all participating teams to fill in this questionnaire, which asks us questions around the AI ML infrastructure, as well as the data sets used to create your sub-seasonal forecasts. And we're hoping that through the webinar and using these model summary questionnaires, we can essentially build a collection of ML AI models that have the best sub-seasonal forecast skill going into the future. So once this model summary questionnaire opens up on the AI Weather Quest, the team leader as well as team members will be able to update their questionnaire. However, only the team leader will be the one that can submit the questionnaire for publication on the AI Weather Quest website. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. We now go on to a period of 20-25 minutes of Q&A, but I'd also like to highlight that we also have the ECMWF AI Weather Quest forum, where I'm regularly interacting with participants of the AI Weather Quest with with issues that they have. For instance, what password's correct to use. For example, where's the best place to get initialization data? So if you don't feel comfortable asking a question in this forum, you can also ask online in the forum. So with that, thank you all, and we'll go right to a Q&A.
Yes, thank you very much, Joshua. So as we said in the beginning, you can ask your questions directly in the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask the questions out loud. And yes, do not hesitate. Yes, Nashikita, I see that you are raising your hand.
Yeah, hi Josh. Excellent presentation, and really I'm a fan of this whole AI Quest Python package. It's great. Just one thing, like just to know your thought, like when you said that you average all the variable, and you're dealing with three different, I would say, different variable. I mean, sea level, temperature, and precipitation. And we have seen over the years that the scale of precipitation is not so good in subseasonal case. Do you think it's a fair comparison to average all those? Because I may have a model which is great in MSL, and like the RPS is maybe more than 0.8, but maybe the precip is 0.3 and temperature is 0.5. So do you think it's a fair, or it's better to like individual based on the variable?
Yeah, it's a good question. So to begin with, we're going to focus on averaging the three variables. But if it becomes clear that the precip skill scores are much lower compared to mean sea level pressure and near surface temperature, then we may change how we essentially rank the individual teams. But to begin, to begin with, we'll have the leaderboards open for the individual variables as well as the variable average. So you will be able to see how you will be able to see how you rank for individual variables as well as the variable average score. Additionally, unfortunately, I can't show it because it uses real data and I don't want to show real data. But when you show the variable average score, so if I was to click apply filter, you will be able to see the individual scores for TAS, MSLP, and precip. So we will be able to see which variable is essentially dragging the skill score down.
Yeah, that's good. And just to be clarified, I think you mentioned I missed. So the RPS's value you show is a globally average value, right?
Correct. So for near surface temperature and precipitation, it's globally average, but only over land.
Okay.
Meanwhile, for mean sea level pressure, it's a globally average field.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, then we had a question with Anuj that was also asked this morning. Is it possible to change the configuration of the model mid-sun period? So we actually even put some more details about it on the website just after this morning webinar. The goal is not so much to provide big changes to the model in period. However, we allow some minimal changes during the period, and also you can refine your models in between periods. One very important point, even if you do make change to a model, is that to be eligible for the end of period awards or for the end of the year awards, you must consistently submit forecast with at least one model that remains under the same model name throughout the said period or the said forecasting year. So that's one of the very important points on this. And then there was Dale who was asking, is there a good way to get quick feedback about whether submission has been received? Ideally, one could check for success after submissions, but well before the end of the 4-day submission period.
So I can't remember off the top of my head, Dale, but I think when you write down the function forecast submit, you do get a print statement that says your forecast has been successfully submitted. Now, I admit on the 18th of August, when we closed the first forecast submission window, it may be, what is the best way? On the 18th of August, I will write a forum post that will say who has submitted a forecast within that 4-day window. And I think I'd encourage all those who want to competitively take part to check that their model has been submitted successfully on the 18th of August.
So if I could expand a bit here. So we have been supposedly having a cron job type thing that's been submitting, and apparently it has not been going through. And I'm not the one been doing this, but it seems like getting a some sort of message that can be interrogated, you know, in case, you know, this print statement from an automatic submission may or may not be intercepted correctly. If there's a way to somehow get, you know, actively confirm well in time to resubmit if something didn't go through, that would be great. So this is kind of the goal, is to be able to check, given the importance of not missing a submission. It'd be nice after submitting if one could clearly determine whether or not it had been received.
Okay, I can create a check submission function that will check our system, check it has a forecast associated with that team name and model name. But yeah, okay. Dale, it would be helpful if the individual who's trying to submit a forecast could get in touch.
Yeah, I've already pinged this person, so they should be getting in touch with Olga and you. But we need the feedback quick enough to correct it, right? So it doesn't help to get it at the last moment necessarily if somehow we're not able to get the submission resubmitted.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I would emphasize we have had this 13-week period where forecast submission is open, and no one, well, I've not heard from anyone struggling at the moment. Maybe they're trying to solve it themselves, but yeah, please do get in touch if you are struggling.
Great.
Trying to make it as easy as possible.
We will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's all right. Thanks, Dale.
Do we have any other comments? Yes, from Anush seconded that it would be good to have a check submission function. Okay, thanks for sharing the RPSS for some dynamical models on the forum. Have you looked at RPSS for AI models, say AIFS, ENS, and how do they compare?
We have definitely not looked at AI ML models. The team at ECMWF are also developing their AI model. So we don't have a we don't have a weekly initialization of sub-season forecasts here at ECMWF. The whole point of the quest is to start looking at ranked probability skill scores from AI ML models and compare that with the dynamical scores that we see. Yeah, there we go. It's all right.
And then we had Vedanta. Any tips or guidance for students who's new to this and eager to compete? So I think maybe I can start. I will share again with you the resources page that we have on the website, where Josh kindly pointed out to you some of the resources. We have MOOCs in-house at ECMWF. We have various initiatives that can help you get a grasp of how to come about partaking into this initiative. Just for you to know as well, we presented the participation overview. Students is actually one of the most represented group, so they are more than welcome. And yes, using the resources page, I think you can get some interesting entry points into the competition. I will share it with you now. Resources. So you will find the different webinars. You will find, of course, the data that you can use, computational resources, but you also have one last session that's called ECMWF Learning, pointing you out to some valuable MOOCs. Anything else that you wanted to mention, Joshua?
I guess if there are just a comment from the technical point of view, and I think this is slightly highlighted by Dale's question. We've been slightly surprised here at ECMWF that it seems that most teams have essentially practiced forecast submission on sporadic weeks. And I think I've not heard of anyone, apart from Dale at the moment, who has struggled submitting a forecast, but not many individuals have practiced, I guess, the automated submission of forecasts, which is fine. But as I said, when we compute the period aggregated score, you have to have submitted a forecast for every week of the competitive period. And it would be a shame for a team to be missed on that leaderboard because they had an error, for instance, in week 5 of the competitive phase. I hear that a check forecast submission would be a useful function, so we can definitely add that to the Python package. But I just encourage individuals that as we have 3 weeks to go until we enter the competitive phase, that teams begin to practice the automation of submitting an AI ML forecast. And I know it's not easy, don't get me wrong, but I think it would just be something that is good to focus on over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And yeah, go on, Dale.
So just along those lines, yeah, so we thought we were submitting every week and didn't really look carefully till a few weeks ago. But then obviously we haven't followed up enough with you about why things aren't going through. So a few other people could be in the same boat where we did it manually the first week, that went through, and then we've had trouble ever since, it turns out. So we will be contacting you, but that could be part of the reason you've seen these sporadic entries, is maybe some other people have also thought their automatic entries were getting in and not, it was a little hard to go retrieve, not impossible, but you had to go retrieve the Excel file, right, to go figure out whether you, and so that's why I'm saying much quicker feedback would be super useful.
Okay, Yep. Okay, Olga, I think we're... Olga, I don't think there are any more questions, so...
Yeah, so I froze there for a minute on my side. Did we tackle, could you tackle Nashikita last question about the climatology file?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So yes, sorry. So hi, Joshua, we have talked this earlier, but just to reiterate here, a request, it will be great to have the climatology file along with quintile threshold file from the AI weather quest package.
So the request there is to make a climatology file. Yeah, I mean, are we talking like the average of the past 20 years? What is the I think the Yeah, I mean, there are multiple training data sets available online, and you can read about what's been developed through the Read the Docs. There's the full ERA 5 data set that's also available. So it's hard to know what's the best climatology file to make that would be suitable for most.
So if I may reiterate here, so if I understand properly, I was actually looking at your code, the source code, and you basically calculate this climatology first using this ±4-day window, and then based on that you calculate the quintile,
Yeah.
right? So I was thinking, like, in the same, I was actually explored more on that package, and I found the quintile file is already there. So I was actually trying to change those things and download the climatology directly, because I want to see exactly. Sometimes it's important to see how this quintile come from the climatology, but seems like this AI quest have only those file pre-calculated, the quintile file, and there's a set of that, and every time we kind of submit this thing in the data downloaded for the quintile. So I was thinking, like, while you're calculating the climatology, in any case, if you can put it there, because as you said, like, climatology can be calculated various way. For example, some people use detraining, some people use some kind of cost latitude weighting. So I just want to see exactly if you find some value, let's say less than 20%, 80. I want to see that how it calculate from the climatology, the exact value of climatology. But again, it's not very necessary for this competition, just for my own kind of quest to know how it calculated.
Okay. Yeah, I should also say that there's the full ERA 5 data set, post-process to weekly means and weekly sums at a daily resolution. So you can use that data to work out the climatology of preference as well. Yeah.
You're muted, Olga.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying before we go into Jonathan's chat question, I think, Judith, you were raising your hand.
No, muted, Judith.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry about that. I know this information is out there in detail, but if you wouldn't mind summarizing in terms of initialization what you make available. I think it is ECMWF data with a delay. Is it 50 members in GRIP2 format? Is that right? In real
correct.
time or in quasi near time?
Yeah, so the AI Weather Quest doesn't make anything available specifically, but here at ECMWF we provide open data from the analysis at ECMWF, and you can access that through ECMWF's open data store. I think we're losing Olga because of internet connection, but there is a forum post where we provide the necessary links to this data that you can also use. And I've been discussing with a couple of teams who are trying to understand this data set in a bit more detail so they can use it to initialize their model. But yeah, you're right, Judith, it is in a GRIP2 format.
Thank you.
That's all right.
I also provided in the chat. Sorry.
Okay.
I also provided in the chat the link to the topic that was on the initialization data. Then we had Jonathan's question: will you be providing a way to submit historical forecast over the testing period so we can compare our own evaluation to the competitors?
No. You can. Are you providing a way to submit historical forecasts over the testing period so we can compare our own evaluation to the competitions? So you can, when you submit a forecast, Jonathan, you create an empty data array that has the same format as the competition uses. And then you have to give a second line that then pushes that forecast to the AI Weather Quest. So what you can do is you can populate your forecast array, but don't submit it to the AI Weather Quest, and then you can do your own evaluation. So you can essentially create your forecast as if you were submitting it to the Weather Quest, but not submit it, and then you can evaluate it locally.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I mean, I think this, I'm just relaying a question I heard. I don't remember if this is exactly right, but I think the point was that we actually wanted to validate that the online process was the same as the offline process.
So in other words, what I do online is exactly the same as what happens with what you do locally?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. I mean, so all of the functions, so the functions that I use to evaluate the forecasts that I receive are available for the AI Weather Quest package. So you if you look at the forecast evaluation component of the Python package, I use exactly the same functions. So you can perform your own evaluation locally, and you can check whether you get the same scores as I do, which I hope you do, because I'm using the same functions that's within that Python package.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
There's still 9 minutes to go. Do we have any more questions? If not, I think, Joshua, we could go to the last slide. Yes, so thank you very much for everyone involved in the organization of the AI Weather Quest, notably as well our advisory board, who you can find more information about in the About section of the AI Weather Quest website. Thank you very much for participating. And also, we wanted to say we will see you for the next webinar. I'm sharing the link to register to the next webinar, which will be the Sun Awards webinar, where we will celebrate the top performance of the September, October, November forecasting period. So you can find the link. You can already register to it. If you want to save the date, it will be on the 18th of December at 1 p.m. UTC. So we'll see you there, and thank you very much. We will send you the recording of today by email in the following days. Thank you.